Oh man, this football season sucks, and I still don't know who's gonna even win the Super Bowl anymore. Also, I barely avoided a losing record. Also, the Chiefs are fucked. Hey there, peeps! Detective Boo Boo here. Shit, last week could have not gotten any worse for me, honestly. Um, yeah, it was not a good week being a Chiefs fan. It was not a good week for predicting. And I didn't even do my freaking fantasy, and I'm already out. So, a really bad football week for me. I hope y'all's were a lot better than this. Because look at this now. Week 14, 7-7. I barely avoided a losing record. And I mean barely. The Eagles and Chargers went into overtime, and there was a threat where I actually could have had a losing record this week, which would have been devastating. Oh my god, hello, Zero. But yes, a lot of things I got wrong. I did not see the Titans upsetting the Browns, um, or the Buccaneers getting upset, or the Bills coming back, or the Commanders just flat out laying a goose egg, or the Ravens getting upset. Oh boy, it was not pretty. Not pretty whatsoever. Hopefully, this week will be better. The next 4 weeks will be 16 games, so we got 64 games left in the season. Oh boy. If I can get at least if I can get at least 2 wins this week, I will finish the season over 500. I hope that's going to be the case here. Also, hello mama. Oh boy. So yes, we'll go into highlights of the previous games here in a little while. We got 16 games here this week. I am completely terrified to pick this week because a lot of things could be going on. We got a bunch of playoff implications at this point in the seasons. We still don't know who's really great. We know who's good. So, with that being said, it's kicking off on Thursday Night Football tonight at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. We got the Atlanta Falcons sitting at 4-9, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sitting at 7-6. The Falcons, I believe they enjoyed a bye week last week. I want to double check on that. I'm pretty sure, but either way, this season has just not gone well at all for the Falcons. Oh no, they got blasted by the Seahawks. Never mind then. Yes. So this past game is just the icing on top of all of it. Kirk Cousins was still in the game. He had went completed half of his passing attempts for just 162 total yards. He threw 2 picks as well, and his rating was under 40, which is horrid. Meanwhile, the rest of the Falcons team didn't really do much better. Um, Also, I believe Bijan Robinson also coughed up a fumble, and they were just completely outplayed on all aspects. And at this point, you're just hoping for a good draft pick at this point, but you have no idea. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed on this Falcons team, and I hope, as any a Falcons fan would tell you, you just hope it's going to be getting better sometime soon. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, ew, they are in panic mode right now. They just took a costly loss to the Saints last week. Um, at home, yeah, getting got played by Tyler Show is not a good look. Um, both of them did throw a pick, but according to the ratings, Show had a better day. It was not the best performance by the Buccaneers overall. Um, yeah, it was just very ugly, and it's gonna be a rough ride to the end because now you're tied with the Panthers. But the good thing is the Buccaneers still control their own destiny. They play the Panthers twice at the end of the year. Plus, they got this game against Atlanta to get right. They got three, making a total of 3 divisional games of the 4 left, with the other being at Miami, which has while they're hot right now, they have shown to have struggled a little bit and have played weaker opponents. So, yeah, this is a very doable stretch for the Buccaneers. However, they got to put stuff together. It's not going to be an easy ride to the end. Divisional games are always usually um they're usually a lot closer than people expect them to be, and especially with the Panthers coming up twice, you really need to take at the very least one of them and possibly win out. Well, you got to win out at this point, especially with the Panthers upsetting who knows what at this point. So, with that being said, I could easily see the Falcons winning this, but the way they've been playing is just not enough to really convince me to pick them this week. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think if they can get the running game going again with Bucky Irving, this team will really put the nail in on the Falcons season. Plus, Plus, the way I think it's desperation time now for the Buccaneers. They really need to put stuff together. This was a team that at one point that looked like Baker Mayfield may win MVP, but now it just looks like they've become a shell of their former selves. And yeah, now somehow the Panthers are alive for the division. So, with that being said, Buccaneers in this one. I would not be surprised though if the Falcons somehow made this NFC South even worse than it already is. But we're going to the noon slate now. The first one on the list, you got the Cleveland Browns sitting at 3-10, taking on the Chicago Bears sitting at 9-4. The Browns. Oh boy, yes, I know you want a higher draft pick, but to the Titans, the Titans of all teams beat them last week. Shedeur Sanders actually had a pretty decent game, 23 for 42. 364 total yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have the one pick and was sacked twice, but he did have an overall rating of nearly 98%, which is it's a pretty good rating overall. Um, you would love to see a little bit of the turnover margin to be a little um a little bit, but still, it's a good day by Sanders. You really got to take that as a Browns fan. However, that defense that is normally so freaking amazing for the Browns in the past few years has just completely disappeared in that last game, allowing Cam Ward to put up 108 total passing yards, and the rushing D especially was really rough. 184 rushing yards allowed. And yeah, it was just not a good day for the Browns defense when the Browns pretty much needed them in that game. Also, you let a team that probably didn't want to win, so I'm not sure what the idea is there, but hey, at least Sanders looked good. On the other side of this game though, the Bears, it was always going to be a tough game in Lambeau. Everyone knew that. And it was a little bit of a regression for the Bears offense a little bit. Um, Williams did have 2 touchdowns, 186 total yards, and completed 19 for 35. But he also took a sack and an interception in this game. We'll see how the Bears recovered this week, especially against a, a more surprisingly good Browns defense. This is going to be a big test for the offense this week as they get the Green Bay Packers again next week in Soldier Field. Can this offense figure out how to produce again against a really good defense? If so, I think the Bears will be set for this game and possibly the next one. And as for that defense, yeah, it's been decent, but it hasn't really reached the elite level that the Bears have been historically known for. So, with the Browns starting to look a little hotter on the passing game, you're hoping to really shut down the passing game this week. And if you're the Browns, you need to give Shedeur Sanders more time in the pocket as well. Give him time to find his receivers on any given play, and he'll produce. And for the Bears, yeah, you really need to shut down that passing game. Also, your offense needs to get a rebound game after last week. And it's in Soldier Field. The Browns did just lose to the Titans. I think this is going to be a Bears victory. I would not be surprised if the Browns somehow made this a closer game than people think. But overall, I think the Bears are a better team on paper as well. Plus, they have improved to overtime to not really drop 2 games in a row, except the first 2 games of the season when they were still figuring themselves out. So, give me the Bears in this one, and next week's game back at Soldier Field against the Packers is going to be a great one. Moving on now, we got 2 teams now that really laid an egg last week. You got the Baltimore Ravens sitting at 6-7, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals sitting at 4-9. The Ravens, just when you thought this team finally was back and they were playing lights out, you drop a game to the Steelers. That was ugly. Um, the offense just was not really anywhere to be seen this day. Um, and then freaking who was it? Aaron Rodgers completely um took over in this game for the Pittsburgh offense. Yes. 284 total passing yards of 318 total offensive yards. And yet somehow the Ravens outgained them and still lost. So do what you want with that. Boy. It was it was just not great for the Ravens this past week. And when you really, really needed something to get put on the table to get this team back into a playoff position, they drop a game like that. So it's going to be really, really ugly going forward. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, hey, you really have missed Joe Burrow, haven't you? 284 total passing yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. Yes, he did throw 2 picks, but still, 106 total quarterback rating is still something you really, really have missed this year. And then on top of that, the Bills. But on top of that, though, the defense, man, that defense needs help. Josh Allen leads a really, really big comeback victory over the Bengals in Orchard Park. It just was not. It was a really great day for the offense, just completely wasted by the defense, just finding more ways to put more holes in its secondary. So these 2 teams also met 2 weeks ago in Baltimore on Thanksgiving, and then that's where the Bengals really, really shine through. The Ravens, though, they're now in desperation mode. They have lost what, 2 games in a row now? You really, really need to get a victory soon. As for the Bengals, they had a nice offensive day, but that defense really costed you. So the big question in this game: can the Ravens offense recover? Can they find some more momentum to light it up against the Swiss cheese Bengals defense? If so, the Ravens have a really good shot at winning this game. But that defense also needs to figure out itself out and hold Joe Burrow to at least somewhat reasonable stats. Because otherwise, the Bengals could easily take this game, especially going back to Ohio this week. So, as much as I really don't think the Ravens get swept this season by the Bengals, I'm going Cincinnati anyway, just because I really think it's gonna be an interesting game, especially now with Joe Burrow coming out questioning the future in the NFL whatsoever. Um, because now you're hoping to really, especially if Joe Burrow decides to where he wants to go, um, next season, you really hope to at least gives him some reason to stay in Cincinnati. So, I'm giving this game to the Bengals. Yeah, Ravens, you need to figure yourself out. Bengals, please keep Joe Burrow healthy and just keep him on your team. Up next, though, another noon slate game. You got the Los Angeles Chargers sitting at 9-4, taking on the team from the heart of America, the heartbeat of the drums, the Kansas City Chiefs, sitting at 6-7. Yeah, as a Chiefs fan, it's miserable. Thank you for asking. The Chargers. Man, that was a turnover fan fest last week for the Chargers. Um, yeah, he was stripped. Justin Herbert did not have himself a great game. He was stripped at least once, I'm pretty sure twice, and then also threw another pick in this game. However, he was lucky he was facing Jalen Hurts on a really bad day. So, the Chargers get it done in overtime, escape SoFi with a win, and yes, Justin Herbert, count your blessings. Um, Overall, it was not the worst day for the Chargers, but they really did play down to the Eagles' level that day, so it was not exactly pretty. Um, on the other side of this game, though, oh god, the Chiefs need help. They really need help. That was probably the worst offensive performance I have ever seen from this team, and that's saying a lot. The Chiefs, uh, got fucking hammered on by the Texans defense. That offense has looked lifeless since for a while. But Patrick Mahomes as well, probably the worst performance of the year. 14 for 33, 160 yards, no touchdowns, sacked twice, 3 picks. Yeah, this team needs a lot of help. And a quarterback rating 19.8. This team is fucked. And when this team needed a victory so badly, they shat the bed probably worse than any team could have imagined. I don't think anyone was expecting the Chiefs to be sitting at 6-7 going into the final 4 weeks, but here we are. The Chiefs have a losing record. They have no shot now of winning the division, and they're most likely not even going to make the playoffs this year. That is a really, really heartbreaking world I am living in right now. Yes, laid an egg. But there is some hope. They're not completely eliminated yet, but a win over the Texans would have really done numbers to help this team out. But they really got to get their act together this upcoming week, especially with the Chargers coming off another victory. One of the teams they got to chase down is the Chargers. If they lose this game, they're essentially done. There's no realistic possibility of this team getting back into the playoff picture. But a win here would also really help the Chiefs only if a couple of other teams lose. So it's not looking likely. Meanwhile, the Chargers are just hoping to wrap up a playoff spot finally and maybe get a season sweep over the Chiefs. As much as I don't like to pick against the Chiefs right now, especially since they've already lost to this team once, I have to go with the hotter hand. I'm going LA in this game. I think the Chargers, as long as they can get the some of their guys back on defense a little bit healthier, I think they'll have an easy time with the Chiefs offense. The question is, can Justin Herbert get past the Chiefs defense, which is still actually looking pretty decent despite everything that has happened to them? But hey, maybe it'll be enough. Maybe it'll be enough for the Chargers just to get over the hump and finally clinch a playoff spot. And who knows, maybe they might catch the Broncos, especially with who the Broncos are playing this week. So, keep the train rolling. Up next, though, you got the Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots. The Bills sitting at 9-4, the Patriots sitting at 11-2. Oh man, the last time these two teams faced off, we thought the Patriots might have been decent. We didn't think they'd be this good. Now, the Bills are just trying to catch New England at this point. And it has been quite wild. The Patriots, they got to enjoy their bye week this past week. The previous, after just hammering the Giants on Monday Night Football the week before, and it's going to be a very interesting game now. New England now is being chased rather than chasing down the Bills. So it's going to be a real interesting matchup because if the Bills win this game, they have a shot. They need a little bit of help, but they definitely have a shot now with with essentially tying the season record against New England. However, a Patriots win essentially seals up the division. Buffalo, it would actually seal up the division. Buffalo would the best record Buffalo could get, 12-5, and the worst New England could sit at was 12-5. New England would hold a tiebreaker as they've already beaten Buffalo once this season, and with a second victory, that would lock up the season. So, the Patriots, they could have a chance to win the division. Buffalo trying to hang on to the playoff spot that they currently have. They would currently be the 5th seed, I want to say. But yeah, it's gonna be a real interesting ride to the end. It's gonna be a little nerve wracking for the Bills, but I think they've been in this kind of a situation before. I think they'll be able to handle it just fine. But you really need to take this game. And for the Patriots, they also need this game, not just to lock up the division, but they also need it to keep pace with the Broncos for the number 1 seed and potentially overtake them. Also, in this game, the Bills last week, they barely escaped with a comeback victory over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So, it's not exactly looking great, but if the Bills have shown they are really resilient this season. So, I would not be surprised if the Bills win, but I am going to go with the Patriots in this game. I think they're the better. I think honestly they've played as the better team all season long. Yes, I know the Patriots schedule hasn't exactly been hard on them, and they might get upset in the playoffs, but still, the Patriots have a real chance to prove they are legit by sweeping the Bills. And I think they might just do that this week, especially with the Bills looking kind of shaky. So, I am going to go with the Patriots. Let's see how things go. Up next, oh God. You got the Washington Commanders sitting at 3-10, taking on the New York Giants sitting at 2-11. God, I am so sorry for the people of Washington and New York who have to watch this game. The Commanders, oh, they got shut out by the J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. What happened? Oh my God, that was ugly. Plus, on top of that, Jaden Daniels gets hurt again. Yeah, this Washington, this Commanders team really needs a lot of help. And yes, the Vikings have the Vikings shut you out. I still can't get over that fact. That was ugly. New York sitting on the bye week last week after getting hammered by the Patriots on Monday Night Football. They are now in control for the number 1 overall pick, which means they are definitely wanting to lose this game. Washington also just trying to spoil New York a little bit in this game. Both of these teams really want a high draft pick as well. Who is the better team? Honestly, I'm gonna go with the Giants in this one. The Commanders have just looked really, really shaky. At least the Giants have looked decent. Not exactly great. Plus, they have Jackson Dart back, who played on Monday night last week. I think he's gonna get a few more reps. He got a few more reps over the bye, and I think he'll look a lot better than he did in his last game. I think the Giants could, especially sitting at being at home, could definitely take this game and easily run away with it as well. So give me the Giants in this one. Yeah, Washington, you still need a lot of help. Up next, you got the Las Vegas Raiders sitting at 2-11. Ugh, they really are this century's version of the Black Plague and the bubonic plague, the Black Death, but not in a good way. Taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, sitting at 8-5. Oh Jesus Christ! Both these teams need help, but the Raiders are on a different level right now. The Raiders, don't let that score fool you. They got completely outplayed. Completely outplayed by the Broncos. The This team, yeah, it's just getting uglier and uglier as the season goes on. Is Pete Carroll truly, truly the guy? And that's just something you really just do not know at this point. As for the Eagles, god damn. Talking with Andrew the other night, yeah, it was not great. Oh my god. 4 picks, 3 picks, 4 picks, 5 total turnovers for Jalen Hurts, including throwing a pick and fumbling on the same goddamn play. This has been it. I don't. This is like 2023 all over again for the Eagles. And now they really are in threat of losing the division right now. Um, the Eagles really need this game, and I think the Raiders at this point are just trying to tank. So give me the Eagles in this one. I would not be surprised if this game is so much closer than it has any reason to be. But yeah, give me the Eagles in this one. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not really sorry to the Raiders, but Philly, you fucking let me down. Up next, though, you got the New York Jets sitting at 3-10, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars sitting at 9-4. The Jets got rocked by the Dolphins last week, and it was not pretty whatsoever. 34-10. Ikes. Brady Cook played a majority of the game as Tyrod was benched in this game. Oh, brother. Brady Cook though, maybe he could get stuff going. He is the Mizzou quarterback from a few years ago, so you're hoping to at least get some momentum win with him. As for the Jaguars, they got everything going for them right now. The Colts lost. They beat the Colts, hammered them in Duval. The Jaguars, yes, they really looked the part, and they have looked so good these past few weeks. I think they finally have put stuff all together. So, coming back against the Jets, I gotta give it to the Jaguars. It's gonna be an interesting game, but overall, it's gonna be a blowout. So I'm gonna give it to Jacksonville in this game. Don't expect this one to be close. And our final noon game. You got the Arizona Cardinals sitting at 3-10, taking on the Houston Texans sitting at 8-5. The Cardinals find just more ways to embarrass themselves this season. Oh, a blowout loss to the Rams. They were hoping to keep it close, letting them put 45 on the Cardinals. Brissett still actually had a relatively decent game, but still, this Cardinals team just needs a lot more help. You need to find a more suitable quarterback because Brissett's not going to be the main starter going forward. He's not your future. So, a lot of the questions have to be answered for the Cardinals this offseason. The Texans got a massive victory, though, over the Chiefs. Sitting now at 8-5, they are in the driver's seat for the final playoff position. And with the looks of their schedule, um, it's very this a playoff spot is very doable. They get the Cardinals, the Raiders next week. They go to LA and then they to play the Chargers. That's going to be a tougher game. And then they host the Colts, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. So, yes, the Texans are in a prime position to really take the NFL by their schedule by storm and go to the playoffs. The car They got to take care of business this week, and I think they easily do. Give me the Texans in this one. I don't expect this to be pretty in the goddamn slightest. Yikes. But anyways, moving on. This is where we get really, really, really interesting stuff now. We got a total of 5 afternoon games. So, kicking things off, this could easily be the game of the week. You got the Green Bay Packers sitting at 9-3-1, taking on the Denver Broncos sitting at 11-2. The Packers, that was a statement victory over the Bears. Now they control their own destiny for the division, and maybe potentially get some help to help chase down the NFC West winner for the number 1 seed. But first they got to take care of business, and it's not easy business this week as they get to take on the Denver Broncos, who completely outplayed the Raiders last week. Don't let the score fool you. It was never that close. So, the big question this week, can the Green Bay offense figure out how to beat the Denver defense? That's the main matchup for this week. The Packers offense finally seems to have a little more life to it, a more consistently good life, and now they face their toughest challenge yet, as the Denver defense is still amongst the best in the entire league. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup overall. As for the Broncos, you really need to figure out figure some stuff out on offense, which you did last week. Can you keep it going though? Especially since the Packers don't actually have a bad defense. It's going to be a real interesting week this week. I would not be surprised. The way the Broncos have been playing these teams, they remind me so much of last year's Chiefs. It's going to be a close game, but I think the Packers do beat Denver this week. I am going with Green Bay there. I think they've made more of a statement these past few weeks than the Broncos have, and I think Denver is due for a loss. I really do think so. Especially now that the Broncos hold the number 1 overall seed, it's not going to be easy to maintain that. I got Green Bay. They're trying to hunt down the number 1 overall seed in their own conference. So, give me the Packers in this one. It's going to be a real fun game, though. Up next, this could also be a potential game of the week. You got the Detroit Lions sitting at 8-5, taking on the Los Angeles Rams sitting at 10-3. The Lions, they got a big win over the Cowboys last week. It was a really, really solid performance by the Detroit offense. Goff went 25 for 34, 309 passing yards, a touchdown, and a total quarterback rating of 111. Also, on the ground game, it was a pretty damn good game for the Detroit offense, mustering a lot of yards, tearing up the Cowboys defense. And they look to carry it forward to the Rams this week, who, oh my god, Matthew Stafford, what a bounce back game for the guy. People were panicking after the Panthers game. Oh, is he really the reason? Yes, he is. The Rams demolished the Cardinals. Matthew Stafford, 22 for 31, 281 total passing yards, 3 touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 131.3. That is what I call a massively big bounce back game. And these two teams, now the offensive have finally adjusted a little bit. This is going to be a chess match. The Lions really need to figure out this Rams defense, because otherwise they could easily get left in the dust, as we saw on Thanksgiving. And it's in SoFi Stadium. It's always going to be a tough environment for visiting. It's going to be a tough environment for visiting Rams fans. Or visiting fans when they play the Rams. Sorry, Chargers, you still really don't control much of LA. This is the Rams country. Yeah, I still gotta go with the Rams though. They are in my opinion, at this point, they are the best team in the league. They should be Super Bowl favorites. They really should be. They probably won't be, but they're gonna make a statement this week. I think the Lions do take a step back. I still think they have a really solid game, but they're just facing a much tougher competition going forward. They still got the Bears up next. They get the Steelers and they still got the Steelers who are still hunting down a playoff spot. Meanwhile, for the Rams, they do get the Seahawks later on, yes, next week, but they also finish the season with the Falcons and Cardinals. So there should not be too much panicking for the Rams. But they just got to take care of business, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Up next, you got the Carolina Panthers sitting at 7-6, taking on the New Orleans Saints sitting at 3-10. The Panthers, they really enjoyed their bye week. They saw the Buccaneers lose to this Saints team, and now the Panthers have a chance to win the goddamn division. Who would have ever thought that going into the season that the Panthers have a chance? They probably get the winner of this division is going to get completely manhandled in the first round, in the wild card round. But still, that's an achievement. Next week, though, is going to be real interesting. That's the first of two games. This is going to be the first games of their home stretch. I believe they also have three conference games or three divisional games left. Two against the Buccaneers, this one against the Saints, and then their final game that I haven't listed is the Seahawks. That's not easy. So the Panthers really need to take care of business now before the schedule gets harder. As for the Saints, that was a nice upset. That really was. But that really hurt your draft chances now. It's going to be real difficult now to really get a good draft pick. I would not be surprised if the Saints somehow pull off a victory. They did so in Carolina a few weeks ago. However, I don't think Carolina's gonna let this team get them again. I'm going with the Panthers, and it's gonna be a really interesting one, as the Panthers I haven't looked great. They've shown flashes of it, but this team needs to find more consistent ways to win games, as especially as they try to chase down the Bucks for the division. We got two more afternoon games though. This upcoming one should be kind of easy to pick though. You got the Tennessee Titans sitting at 2-11, taking on the San Francisco 49ers sitting at 9-4. The Titans 2-11 now with the massive upset victory over the Browns. It was a good win, but it also really hurt your draft choices. Now you've lost the number one overall pick, and you really haven't figured much out on your own side. So yeah, winning was not exactly great. Ward though had a meh game. He didn't have a terrible game, which I guess it counts for something. The Niners, the San Francisco 49ers, they enjoyed their bye week a little bit, but unfortunately for them, both the Rams and Seahawks won last week. Which, with the Niners trying to hunt down the last wild card spot, that's not exactly, or the trying to hunt down the division. That's not great. And yeah, it's just going to be a real interesting turn of events going forward. They're now tied with the Bears, for the sixth seed. I do believe the Bears hold the tiebreaker. No, the Niners hold the sixth seed. They hold the tiebreaker. So, they really need to cement a playoff position soon, especially with the Lions really sneaking up behind them. And so are the Panthers and Cowboys. So, they really need to lock down stuff quickly. And I think they do with a pretty relatively easy win over the Titans. I do not expect this game to be remotely close. So, give me the 49ers in this game. They need a playoff spot. The Titans need a better draft choice. This is what helps both sides. Oh my goodness, this game would have been so much better if what happened to the Colts didn't happen. You got the Indianapolis Colts for our final afternoon game, sitting at 8-5, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, sitting at 10-3. The Colts. A lot of events have happened for the Colts this past week. They get blown out by Jacksonville. That was probably the most normal part. Then, on top of that, you lost Daniel Jones for the season. That hurt so much. But then the weirdest part of all this, they somehow got Philip Rivers to come out of retirement and potentially start in this game. What is going on? Such a weird turn of events. But the Colts did their job. Or not really did their job. What am I saying? They are sliding right now at the worst possible time. When the schedule got harder, they quickly collapsed. And now they probably won't even have a playoff spot at this point. Especially if they got to play teams like Seattle. Seattle hammered Atlanta. That was to be expected. But the Colts, they get Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Houston. That is ugly, and I could easily see this team losing every single one of them and somehow end up with a losing record. They have lost 3 straight. They could easily lose 7 straight. That is how badly the Colts are hurting right now. The Seahawks, they are trying to chase down the Rams. They do if they can take care of business this week, this will set up a massive game next week in Seattle for the Seahawks. But they do have the Panthers and 49ers, so their schedule is after that is not exactly easy. But if they can take care of business here, they got a shot. And the way the Colts have looked, I don't really expect Philip Rivers to turn into the Joe Flacco we saw a few years ago that led the Browns to the playoffs. Give me the Seahawks in this game. This would have been a lot better if Daniel Jones was still playing. And if the Colts weren't on a big slide. Sunday Night Football, though. Why is this a Sunday night game? You got the Minnesota Vikings sitting at 5-8, taking on the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 6-1. The Vikings, that was a beatdown on the Commanders. 31-0. Not even just a beatdown, that was a shutout. Complete game from J.J. McCarthy. This is what the issue is right now. McCarthy is so inconsistent, but he has his flashes, but he just needs to find that more often for the Vikings. After getting shut out on their own by the Seahawks, they deliver a shutout. So, talk about a complete turnaround in 1 week. As for the Cowboys, the defense let them down again. The Cowboys had a massive game from Dak Prescott once again, but it was completely wasted by the Dallas Cowboys defense, which apparently did not get better with Quentin Johnson now joining the team. Oh, man. The Cowboys really need a bounce-back game, though, especially if they're going to hunt down the Eagles for the division, which is slowly fading away with very few games left on the schedule. The Cowboys do have the Chargers next week before taking on the Commanders and Giants to finish off the year. Unfortunately for them, the Eagles have an easier schedule, so they really need as much help as they can get. The Vikings, somehow they're still in the playoff race. I don't expect them to be in it for much longer. Give me the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football to officially end the Vikings' playoff dreams. And finally, Monday Night Football. You got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Dolphins sitting at 6-7. The Steelers sitting at 7-6. Somehow Miami is brought themselves back to life. The Dolphins getting a going on their bye week this past week, or none. They demolished the Jets. What am I saying? Oh man, that is 4 wins in a row for the Dolphins. They were 3-7. They were 2-7 a month ago. Now they're sitting at 6-7 and having a chance to get back to 500. What a turnaround, especially since the season looked so lost. And for the Steelers, they got a massive victory over the Ravens and now are on top of the North again. However, this team still looks kind of shaky. I'm not exactly buying them still. And yeah, it's just going to be a really interesting next few weeks for this team. Can Can the Steelers maintain their momentum they had from the Ravens game? Especially since they still have to play the Lions and Ravens again. So, it's gonna be real interesting, but I think I still gotta give it to Pittsburgh. I know the Dolphins are hot. I know. And it goes against a lot of what I'm saying. But still, I'm going with Pittsburgh at home. I think now that the playoffs are coming in closer and closer, they'll find ways to maybe get to 10 wins. But it's not going to be easy. They got to take care of business first. And that means taking down the Dolphins. So, give me the Steelers in this game. It's going to be a very ugly game. I'm going to expect maybe 40 points put up by these two teams. But yes, it's going to be a very, very interesting next few weeks. But with that being said, that is all for the pigskin pick'ems. However, there is something I want to do before I go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the college football playoff. Oh man, this is going to be exciting. Give me a second though. I am going to pull up something that makes it a little more spicy. Let me do this real quick. Because why don't we do this now so that we're not trying to do this? Um, not Bowl Mania. What is it called? There we go. Let's fill this out real quick. So, if the ad will get off my screen. Playoff bracket. Let's create one. So, the college football playoff has just released a bracket for the college football playoff. So, I'm going to go through every single one and pick a champion. I know it's a little early, but still, I want to do this now in case something like comes up or whatnot. Let's start with our first round matchups. Yes, it's going to be a bit of a longer stream. I get that, but still. Let's start with the easier games. Let's start with this one. James Madison versus Oregon. The Dukes somehow snuck into the postseason, winning 12 games and winning the Sun Belt, including the Sun Belt Championship. They were very, very fortunate enough that the ACC was flat out terrible. 7-5 Duke ended up winning the ACC title, knocking Virginia out and putting the Dukes in the postseason. The Oregon Ducks, they went 11-1 this season. Their only loss being to the number 1 overall seed in the field, the Indiana Hoosiers. So, with that being said, it's gonna be a real interesting game. But I gotta go with the Oregon Ducks in this one. I think I think the Ducks are it's gonna be a Ducks victory. I would not be surprised if this game is a lot closer than people are thinking it will be. I do feel for James Madison. Their first game has to be in Eugene, but still, it's an exciting one. I would not be surprised if the Ducks somehow pull, or if the Dukes somehow pull this off. This is going to be a real close game. It's going to be a tight game. Give me the Ducks in this one, though. Up next, this is a rematch from earlier in the year. We got the Tulane Green Wave taking on the Ole Miss Rebels. Tulane beat North Texas in the American Championship game in New Orleans. So Tulane has been proven to be a really great power or group of five team these past few years. However, the last time they played Ole Miss was earlier in the year, September 20th of this year. They got blown out 45-10. If history repeats itself, this is an easy Ole Miss victory. However, Tulane has been proven to be on the center stage and do incredible things. They beat USC in the Cotton Bowl a few years ago. So, take this team lightly. I think I'm going to actually pull an upset here. I'm going Tulane in this one. It's going to be a real interesting one, especially now Lane Kiffin, the whole Lane Kiffin drama is going on. And I don't believe he's going to be the coach for Ole Miss in their playoff run, which is huge. But, and I think it's going to be really shaky for the Ole Miss Rebels now. They usually find ways to lose games that they probably shouldn't and miss out on big time chances. I think this is going to be the one for them. Give me Tulane in this one. Up next, we got the last at large break taking on one of them, a team that suffered its first loss in its previous game. You got the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Texas A&M Aggies. The Hurricanes. The college football playoff whole shebang, the committee is such a fucking joke. But still, I'm glad they eventually got the decision right to put Miami in over Notre Dame, especially with the head-to-head. I think Miami is going to do something very interesting this year in terms of the playoff. I don't know if they'll pull off a victory, but it's going to be a real interesting game. However, they were unfortunate enough to draw a game in College Station, one of the most difficult environments to play in just on its own. Imagine now going to a playoff game there. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Texas A&M, they finally put it all together this season. K-State's getting its new head coach from Texas A&M. Their offensive coordinator, former K-State quarterback, and former K-State offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, is going to be coming to Kansas State. But for now, he is staying with the Aggies. Going to take him through the entire playoff run before coming here. So I'm very excited to see that. I hope A&M does well. Maybe give Colin Klein a little bit more playoff experience. And I hope he does well overall. Maybe he'll lead K-State to this position next year. But as of now, I am going to go with A&M to take this game. It's in College Station. It's already a tough place to play on its own. Imagine the atmosphere there during the playoff game on December 20th. And yeah, it's going to be a real interesting matchup. I got to go with A&M. Especially the way Miami has sometimes played very, very weird football against like some higher ranked opponents. Finally, on the first round, you got the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. This was the game in the regular season that really took Alabama off the national championship contenders list. This, because Oklahoma exposed Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 23-21. And Alabama really hasn't ever recovered from it. They got blown out in the SEC championship game. I'm surprised there wasn't at least a drop in the rankings because of that. And Oklahoma, they've looked fine since then. Their offense hasn't exactly been great, but they have proven to hold the Alabama offense really, really well. And that defense is going to be lights out. in this game. It's in Norman, so it's going to give a little bit more of an advantage to the Sooners. I don't trust Alabama, though. I am going to go with Oklahoma in this game. It's going to be a real interesting game. I expect it to be low scoring, but give me the Sooners to punch their ticket to the Rose Bowl. But now, speaking of bowl games, we're on to the quarterfinals. In this one, ooh, it's gonna be a lot. This is gonna be spicy matchups. Let's start with probably the easiest one to predict, the All-State Sugar Bowl. We got Tulane taking on Georgia. Last time Georgia played in the Sugar Bowl, it was not pretty. They lost to Notre Dame. However, their starting quarterback was hurt, and Gunnar Stockton was getting his first career start. This time, Stockton has a whole season under his belt, and he knows the Georgia system a lot better. Plus, in my prediction, they're going to be taking on Tulane, and even if they don't, they're taking on an Ole Miss team they've already beaten before. So, in either scenario, I gotta go with Georgia. They are probably one of the best teams in the entire country, and I would not be surprised if they made a deep run. The next game, let's predict the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. You got the Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes have been the team all year long, and then Indiana comes in the Big Ten championship game and completely shuts down the Ohio State offense that has been explosive all year. So, what was this going to entail? How is Ohio State going to recover? It's going to be a really interesting game. I would not be surprised if A&M puts up a really good fight. You got to remember, A&M was a top 3 team before they lost to Texas. Yes, that game was not pretty by any means, and it left A&M out of the SEC championship game. However, Ohio State is going to be a very, very good team. It's going to be a lot tougher. However, A&M has also proven that they can beat these tougher teams. If Ohio State was playing Miami, I would say this is an easy Ohio State victory. However, A&M is not a team to be messed with this season. I am still going to go with the Buckeyes this season. It's just that difficult. It's not going to be easy to give it to A&M, especially with the A&M still trying to prove themselves. I think I got to go with the Buckeyes. Next up is the Rose Bowl. This is going to be between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Indiana Hoosiers. We talked about the Sooners a little bit ago, but the Hoosiers, what a season. Fernando Mendoza for Heisman. Easily, I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't win the Heisman this season. Somehow this team improved on last year's historic run to the playoff. And now they're the number 1 overall seed. This is the first time in program history the Hoosiers have been ranked number 1. And now they got a lot to live up to. This is a team that has been to the Rose Bowl before and been in a pretty good playoff position before. Oklahoma has been in this type of situation before. So this is going to be a really big test for Indiana. And even if they don't, they got to watch out for Alabama. This is going to be a real difficult game. However, Indiana has proven they can compete with the best teams in the league and beat in all of college football and beat them. They beat Oregon in Eugene, and they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I think Indiana is going to take this and run with it. Give me the Hoosiers in this one. It's going to be a real interesting one. Finally, you got the Capital One Orange Bowl between the Oregon Ducks and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This is going to be a real fun matchup. Oregon, we talked about them a little bit ago, but Texas Tech, the champions of the Big 12, 12-1, destroying BYU twice. That defense is no joke. That Tech defense is going to be firing on all cylinders. I don't know if Oregon's going to be quite ready for this team yet. However, Texas Tech has not faced a tough team like Oregon before. This is going to be a massive test. But give me the Red Raiders. I got faith in Tech. I'm going to go with the Red Raiders to take this game. And suddenly, we have a completely opposite situation that we did last year. We have all top seeds now left. This is going to be interesting. Let's start with the easier playoff semifinal. This is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between the Texas Tech Raiders and the Indiana Hoosiers. This is going to be a chess match between the Tech defense and the Indiana offense. This is going to be a real interesting game. However, I I might have to favor Tech just because I'm not sure how well Indiana is going to be able to handle the Tech D. It's just that I don't know if Indiana's really faced a unit like that before. It's I might call upset on Tech. I think I am gonna go with Tech in this game. I would love to see Indiana in the final as well, but something about Texas Tech is really gonna be shocking to everyone. Give me Tech in this one. It's gonna be a really interesting one. And then the final semifinal, the Verbal Fiesta Bowl. The Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. People have dreamed for a rematch between these two schools since the Peach Bowl 3 years ago. And now we're going to get it finally again. I think this is Georgia's time, though. Give me the Bulldogs in this one. This is going to be putting up a Georgia Texas Tech final in the championship. I think Georgia has struck gold at the right time. They're getting hot. Meanwhile, Ohio State has been proven to finally to be a little bit inconsistent. Give me Georgia in this one. It's gonna be a really interesting one. And then the championship, Georgia Texas Tech. Give me Georgia. This team is ready to take the next step again back into the title spotlight. Georgia is gonna be a real threat to win it all, and I expect them not just to make a deep run, but I expect them to take the title. This is my personal favorite to win the national championship. Total points, I don't know, maybe like how much would be like point per game? Maybe like 50 something in 11 games. Maybe like I'll go 600. I'll go the upper. But yes, it's gonna be real interesting. But that's gonna be it for the stream this time. I promise you now. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I'm hoping to do something this weekend, maybe like golf or Uno or something along those lines, just so we can get back into the swing of things. I've really missed doing that with you guys, but sometimes Streamlabs likes to be a fucking dick to me. So, hopefully we can get that done. If not, we'll be back with predictions next week. And I am hoping to do the birthday stream on the 20th. I don't know when. I know Dixie's doing like her Christmas stream. It may be right after that. Who knows? But we'll figure that out as we go along. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share their channel around. It helps me grow. Donations are always still available in the description. If you can, hype the future content that I do. I'm hoping to do a lot more as we progress into 2026. There's going to be another video coming out on the 31st. It's going to be the review of 2025. As always, it's going to be a interesting time. So, with that being said, see you later, peeps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you relatively soon.